Today it's Heifer Project Day at the First Congregational Church. So we've got Carolyn Stearns here with the Storyteller, a huge silent auction, all kinds of projects in church school.
Heavy rain. And Michael went to bed finally. It was late. The power was still out. He thought of a little stray cat that had been coming around when he was barbecuing in the evening, and he finally bought some kitty food and was feeding it out there on the stone wall. She was awfully timid and wouldn't come close enough yet, but he'd feed it anyway. She wouldn't be coming around this evening with all the storm. About 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, he woke up. Power was still out. And he thought of the little cat. She must be really hungry now, and where does this little stray cat hide in such a torrential rain? He was hoping she found a good niche in the wall or under a vehicle or somewhere safe and dry to ride out the storm as he had. But he couldn't go back to sleep thinking about her. He decided to get up and feed her. And he went out the door in the storm and finally passed on, and he called for her and put the food out in its usual spot. Kitty, kitty. But what he heard in answer was a crackly sort of sound. And he couldn't understand what it was, and he looked about. Cats don't crackle usually. And that's when he looked up at the spire of the First Congregational Church in Mansfield Center, and the flames were licking out the louvered vents in the middle of the steeple. For lightning had struck the spire, and it started a small fire which had grown. Now, luckily, in our day and time, we have cell phones. What an innovation to have at that moment when the power was out, for he called 911. Lucky Mansfield Center is halfway between Willimantic, that has a hook and ladder, and Yukon, that has a hook and ladder truck. They came streaming in both directions on 195 and raising their buckets high to the spire that teeters over the top of Mansfield Center. They started tackling the fire that was burning it. If it got a little ahead of them, just a little ahead, that spire would take a nosedive either into the street or into the sanctuary. And all would be lost at the center again, for the building had already been hit and burned in 1866. The firemen raced into the building and up through the choir loft, wrapping the organ and music and pipes in blue tarps and covering everything they could cover in heaping piles, and racing around to save the church, and climbed the attic stairs and up into that steeple, fighting the fire from inside and out. And the next day, the sign on the lawn said, "Open for worship." Thank you, firemen. It was amazing. But I often think that the church wouldn't stand there today. The bells wouldn't have rung 2 weeks ago 300 times in remembrance of our anniversary, had it not been for a small stray cat, that one animal.
Remember, we are here for Heifer Project. This is a project for the kids. So, when we're looking at this, it's all for a charity. And thank you very much.
To remind us all of the important work that Heifer Project does all over the world, from our backyards and on, and how it's touched so many millions of lives and will continue to do so. For the child raised on the milk of a Heifer Project cow will go on and have children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren because she grew, or he grew, with that food.
Oh yeah. Hey, thank you very much, Carolyn. That was fantastic.